Hey, this is Allie Edwards, and welcome to an overview of Stories by the Month using the March Physical Kit. This is available via subscription, which is currently on a waiting list, but you can jump on the waiting list to be first in line to be able to get the product when we have more available. We are going to start something new here by having a video overview showcasing the awesome work that my creative team has been doing using both the physical kit and the digital Stories by the Month. That will be in a separate video, the digital Stories by the Month. This one is going to be featuring the projects made with the physical Stories by the Month kit for March 2018. What I've done here is I'm going to show you just a quick overview of the products that were included with this kit. Like I said, the Stories by the Month subscription follows a very similar look each month with the 4x6 and 3x4 journal cards, as well as the chipboard pieces, and then a small 3x4 stamp. This subscription, the Stories by the Month subscription, is designed to give you products that are more theme-based or more time of the year based, at least for those of us that are living in the Northern Hemisphere. We're going to be following the calendar of things that happens at this time. My goal in showing you these up in a closer look at the projects from the creative team is just to give you some additional ideas of ways to use the products and things that I think are cool, or things that I think that the team have done that are really cool, and showcase their storytelling ideas as well as different ways to use the product. So we've got their name down in the corner there, and then I'm going to be showing you a few different things that I thought were cool. So this is, first up, we've got Amy Gretchen, and the number one thing that I want you to notice that she did on here is she has a white embossed repeated stamping. Now, I'm not sure if she did, actually it looks like she did a little 3x4 piece of transparency that she used white embossing ink and powder to stamp on top of it. You could also do that directly onto the plastic page protector if you wanted as well. I love repeat stamping, and you're going to see that a few other times here from other creative team members as a way to create their own patterns. It's a really quick and easy way to use the stamps as well. One of the things that stood out for me here on Amy's spread is just the words, right? That you can tell that she really took the time to write out a longer story about winter and about what's happening in her life this month. And I love the fact that she really dedicated the space for the story. A lot of what I talk about is this idea of starting with story, and that often literally means writing out the story first, or letting the story take up the amount of space that it needs to take versus trying to fit in a story on a journal card or in a more limited space option. So I love seeing that. And the other thing that I loved about this spread from Amy was just this really atmospheric style of photo. It's got a really lovely depth of field with the branches up close that have buds on them or that are beginning to transition, with the more scaled back, blurred part of the tree in the background. I just thought that was a really cool look. And it's a nice reminder that the photos that we take can really tell a story in and of themselves. And that oftentimes just looking around in the environment, in our outside environment, is a great way to capture something that you can then reflect in the journaling that you're telling as well. Here is the other side of Amy's spread here, the other piece of the 6x8 layout. She's got a card over on the side here that is for flip up journaling. And so the piece that the arrow is pointing to there, the piece that the black arrow is pointing to, is a flip-up card. She's got an Avery index tab on the bottom of it. She stamped one day at a time on the piece that got slipped in that index tab, and she's using the blue chipboard arrow to indicate that there's flip-up journaling there. And that part of this page is outside of the page protector. And then here you can see the inside portion as well. So a little bit more of an opportunity to include more of a story and have some of the fun, more decorative products on the outside as well. All right, next up, we've got a layout from Brandy Kincaid. I'm not sure if this is a 6x8 or an 8.5x11. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're looking at them. Couple things I want you to notice about Brandy's page here. I love the way she took the 4x6, one of the 4x6 journal cards, which was basically a big pattern card, and cut that into strips to create this pattern going down her page. I also like the way that she has popped up, and you can see the dimensional piece of the rain, go away, come again another day. I don't have an arrow pointing to that, but you can see it just from the shadowing that's happening behind there. So she added a little bit of emphasis to that one strip that had a little bit more content on it versus those other ones with the pattern. So cutting up the journal cards, I think, is such a great reminder, whether you're using it in Project Life or you're doing it on a traditional page. Down below here, she has used one of the chipboard triangles to hold some slide out journaling in place. And I'll show you that in a minute. I love how she just used a brad to put the chipboard piece onto the layout that she can then turn, which you'll see in a second here, turn to release the journaling that she has held behind the photo on this page. There you can kind of see that. She actually has that chipboard piece. It's attached by another little piece of paper. You can just kind of barely see it behind the brad there. That's what's actually holding on to the journaling card and holding that in place then when she flips the chipboard piece back over and then tucks the journaling back inside. So really creative way to use one of those chipboard pieces to make an interactive journaling piece there. Next up is a layout from Ingen. And one of the things that I really liked on Ingen's page, she's got, it's a 2-page spread, obviously. One side has an enlarged photo with journaling directly on the photo. But I also really liked how she pulled out just a couple things there that are it's kind of like a title almost that she cut out rather than just having it printed on the piece of paper. And these are the little details of things that I like to see in these pages where you can tell that they were kind of thinking it through. What did they want to do with this? And how do they want to differentiate some of the information that they were including on here? If she wouldn't have made those into paper strips and adhered them on top, the information still would have been included in the page, but I like how she differentiated it, giving a little bit more information about the story that she was telling. I thought that was a really cool idea. I also like how she used the 2 triangle pieces to point in towards the content of the page. So they are used as directional embellishments to actually keep your eye within that main content of the page. When I'm designing the products, especially like when I'm working with the chipboard, a lot of times I like to make sure with those triangle pieces that some are pointing down and some are pointing up, which gives you the opportunity to do this kind of thing when you're creating your page as well. And here is a spread from Jen Carlson. One of the things that really stood out to me and that has stood out to me previously of Jen's work is that she takes really beautiful detailed photos. And you look at, she's got one pocket there that has a little bit more of the story, and then she has all of these different detail shots from their trip. She's got one from the airplane, which shows what she was drinking with the snack, with a book that she was reading. She has the really pretty plumeria flower photo there. She's got another food photo down at the bottom, which looks like ramen, which is what I wish I was eating right now. And then the airplane photo. So different photos that are showing you different pieces of her adventure, rather than showing, oh, here's a bunch of pictures from the airport or here's all beach photos. She's telling a story through the photos that she's using or that she's choosing to include here as well. So I really like that part there. All right, next up is one from Jenny, and let's look here. One of the things I love about Jenny's, which is a little bit what I talked about related to Amy's, is again this idea of including longer stories. And one of the things that we look for in the creative team members that we select each year is that they do focus on the story, that the story is a big part of it, and that they are willing and able to share longer stories as well, because that is something that I highly value, as many of you guys know as well. So this looks to me like it's a 12 by 12. I'm not sure, but that's going to be my guess. 2-page 12 by 12. I really like how she's got columns of text there, and then how she used basically the third column for some pattern paper that she has then repeated on the second page. I really love the circle repetition. So you're getting the circles there from that she's punched out. You're getting the circles from the embellishments, from chipboard, from the badges that she's included as well. Some of those are from past story kits. Those of you guys that subscribe to either the story kits or Stories by the Month know that I like circles quite a bit, and so circles are an easy embellishment to include to be able to create cohesion across your page with your embellishments as well. And I also just really liked how she used this cluster of different shaped embellishments down in the corner. A lot of times, like I just said, I do repeat embellishments, but sometimes it's fun to see like 3 different sizes mixed together that are emphasizing different pieces of the story as well. All right, and here is a layout from Jess Forster. Here, I loved that her journaling is a letter, and this is something that I like to do often in terms of telling stories, especially for my kids, is using the opportunity to write letters to them. I think that that's an easy way to tell stories. It's an easy way to get words out. You're writing directly to someone rather than feeling like, what do I say? Like, I just feel like letter writing is a really easy way to get those words out of my head and my heart and onto the page. I thought that she did a great job in her letter writing here, where she talked about things that she loved in this season, but also things that her daughter loved. So you kind of have these 2 different comparisons going on. And she included a lot of both facts and feelings, which is something that I encourage people to do pretty regularly in their journaling, because I feel like that tells a richer story when you're including basic facts like I bought this at such and such time, but then here's the feelings about the things that we bought, or the feelings about this photo, those kinds of things as well. I also like how she used the chipboard piece over on the side as a page turner. So instead of adding an Avery index tab, which is something I do often, I like how she added the chipboard piece along the side. And I'm pretty sure she probably has one on the other side, or cut some paper to back that as well. Here's a look at a spread from Kelly. One of the things that I liked about this spread when I looked at it is I liked how she used the journaling card, the quote from Rachel Carson, as a jumping off point for the story. So she used that in there, and then the pictures that she took, which she has a very distinct photography style that includes lots of natural elements. It's one of the things that I really love about her photography too. So it was fun to see kind of how she incorporated those different things, as well as incorporating color into the photos that she's taking. The So Ready chipboard piece there matches those David Austin tea roses that she has on her page there. The yellow of the tulips in the vase complements the yellow in that gingham pattern there, and the yellow that's in the quote page. And then the green in the dirt, which is one of my favorite things of seeing the signs of spring coming up. I also like the reminder that you can use these journaling cards just to get some observations written down, right? That you don't always have to type things up. It doesn't always have to be a longer story. And sometimes we just have a few little reflections that we want to jot down. And these journal cards are the perfect home for those kinds of stories as well. Here is another one from Kelly, and it looks like my arrows are already on there. So let's go down from the top. I really like how she had 2 embellishment clusters. Well, she actually has 3. She's got one at the top, one at the bottom, and then one over across from the photo there. So she's got 3 embellishment clusters, which I like to do things in 3s as well. It is a nice balance, kind of has the points of a triangle going on there. I liked that part. I liked how she did the stitching around the main content. And I also really liked that her stitching was messy, because my stitching is often messy too. And I feel like that I just like that part of it. Like it doesn't have to be perfect to, tell a story and to be a home for the stories that we want to tell. She also used the stamps there to create a pattern, the repeat stamping to create the pattern, which again is just an easy way to utilize the stamp sets that we have available to you. All right, and here's a page from Laura. A couple things that I love about this page. I love how she took a shape and she totally went for it. So these shapes here, she took the chipboard shapes, those triangles and the upside down triangles, and then the digital, which we have available as well, and use those to create a large pattern here on her page. This is a 2-page. This page is a 6x8. Her photo page there is a 3x8. And I love the reminder that you can have 2 different sizes in a spread. Sometimes I think we forget that and think it just needs to be a single page 6x8 or a 2-page 6x8, when the reality is we can have mixed up page sizes. And I think that is a fun way to play around with the design. I also really like that long vertical photo paired with this really bold pattern that she's created with those triangles there. And so here's a closer look just at the digital product and the physical product. And I imagine that she set up the pattern in Photoshop to create the triangle pattern, and then she left space or just deleted the spot where some of those triangles were to be able to then add the chipboard in place. So we do offer the digital versions of these kits, and those are available without a subscription. So you can pick up this kit. The digital version of it is in the shop right now. So let's move forward. I accidentally clicked backwards there. All right, here's another one from Laura that also included repeat stamping, which is just it's just an easy choice to really make an impactful design, I think, as well. So here she did repeat stamping, creating a pattern again, and then she used colored pencils to color in the stamped shape. I thought that was a really effective way to communicate her story. She also has little stamped hearts on there. I also like how she cut up the quote. So she could have done, like one strip. That quote could have fit on one strip, but the fact that she cut each, she did a few words here, one word there, a few words there, and then paired those with the umbrellas. I thought that was just a really fun way to add a little bit more variety to the design as well. I also love how she matched the mood of her story in the way that she muted the image with the text on top. And I think that this was a hard story for her to tell. And you can see that she has some of the journaling blurred out, which is totally, we totally respect that. But I like the idea that she is journaling through a more challenging time for her, right? She's not waiting to the end, which is sometimes what I do. I sometimes wait to the end to tell the story, and I approach it from a different way. But I like how she is using the opportunity to take the products and use them to help tell a story about something that's happening in her life right now that is challenging. And my hope for her is that as she does that she is getting something for her heart out of it. Like that, I think there's such a possibility of using memory keeping in that way as a personal journaling outlet to help us move through things that are happening in our lives. All right, next up we have a page from Laureen, and this is a really cool thing that she did that I don't even know that I actually know how to do. And so we asked Laureen, how did you do this? And she said that she used a sketch pen with the silhouette, and she used a pencil actually, to create the title outline using text from the digital kit. So Hey Spring was included in the digital kit. And then she used watercolors to color in the sketched outline, and then she erased the pencil. So a very artistic approach. I love it. I love the paint splatters. I love the repeated circles. I love how she used the stamping up in the corner with a little bit of pattern paper. I love the stitched frame around the outside. All kinds of fun things happening in this page as well. Here's another one from Laureen, again, where she is using her silhouette. She created a cut file from the digital kit and used it then to stitch this title. Super fun. Again, I love looking at these kinds of really creative projects because it's not necessarily the same way that I approach them, but she's taking the products that we make available and making them her own and using them in a way that she wants to express and tell her own stories. So I love seeing that as well. I also really liked how she did this cutaway here on the bottom where she simply probably just took her scissors, folded the paper back, stapled it down, and then stitched over the top of it where you have this kind of peek through to see some, one of the pattern cards, I think is what's behind there, some pattern paper behind there, and then using some of the embellishments on top of that as well. I thought that was a really fun way to play around. And then just the ink splatters. I think that it's kind of one of her signature things that she likes to add on to all of her, many of her projects. And I think it's a really nice way to, it's nice to have somebody that does those kinds of things as well. Okay, next up we have one from Teresa. And one of the things that I loved about this spread from Teresa was how she used it to tell one specific story, right? It's kind of a nice contrast between the one that I showed earlier from Jen, where she had different detail shots from a trip. I love how, in this one, Teresa has different people, right? And the different people, like the relationship with the dog, the little boy on the rock, her and her husband. I just think it is really a nice collection of photos. And I love messy type too. So anytime I get to see messy type, that always makes me super happy as well. Next up, we have a Project Life spread from Lisa, and I want to highlight a couple of ideas that she used here. One of the things that I love about Lisa's work is she uses really real life photos. Like I love the picture of her with the mask on her face. She's also really good at different photo angles. So like the close up on the bush there, the getting down low on the ground with her son in the bottom one, kind of the focus on the kids in the other corner there, the lower corner. I also liked and wanted to highlight how she likes to do typed journaling. And so she did typed journaling onto a different piece of paper and then just adhered and stapled it onto the journaling card. So I think it's a nice reminder if you're using the physical products that you can still get typed journaling on there. And there's a few different ways that you can do that where you're actually running the card itself through the printer, but that takes a little more trial and error. So going ahead and just typing it up into into the size of the space that would fit on the card, printing it out, and then adhering it on there, that's a lot easier to fix if you have a mistake. So I thought that was a good thing to highlight. On the second page of her spread, I love how she did the two photos across the spread. I felt like this was a really a good photo to pick for that. I think sometimes I'm careful when I pick photos that I'm going to cut up and have them go across the spread. I don't want them to go through someone's face, generally, is what I'm looking out for. So having some kind of a shot like this that has a lot of sky, it has a really cool pattern with the lights going across there. I feel like this is kind of an ideal photo to have spread across 2 pages. Again, perspectives, I think this is a great example of that, and pattern too in the photos that she's taking. I love the one with the big giant Legos, like that's so colorful and fun. And then the one on the bottom there, again, where she's down on the ground. I think that that's a really cool angle that sometimes we forget, especially as adults when we're generally so much taller than our kids. And where we end up shooting down a lot rather than being down on their level or down, at a completely different angle. So I think that that's a fun thing to think about as you are taking pictures as well. And then here's one from Lori. Again, Lori also types out her journaling and adds it on top of the journal cards. And I love how she adds just a little bit of stitching on there. I think that that's a fun way to add texture. She's got a mixture. She has some here with the stitching and then some that are just stapled on top of the stories. I think that's super cute. I also really like the white border that she has around those 3x4 photos. That's something that I almost never remember to do, the white border around the 3x4 photos. I do it often around the 4x6, but I think it looks really cool on the 3x4 as well. Next up is a spread from Mel, and she's got two 6x8 ones happening here and a few different things I want to point out here. Again, real life photos. I'm just such a fan of those. Like, I think that those are the kinds of things that down the road we will appreciate being able to see. And I know that I already do now from the years that I've been doing stuff. I love being able to look back and see what kind of mess did I have at a particular point in time. I also like the way that she does really loose journaling as well. So mixed up type. I think that she's probably doing it on a typewriter itself, so which is another way that you can get type directly onto these physical journal cards. I just like the look. I think it looks fun. I also like how she has herself in the story, and I think a lot of the people on my creative team are really good at that, of making sure that there are pictures of themselves, that they are a part of the story that they are telling as well. So that's always I'm always happy to see that as well. So that's a look at the creative team using the March 2018 Physical Stories by the Month kit.